Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and His Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rukak Wadash, and double honors to the head apostles of the great millstone that have taught me this truth, and including the bishops on down as well, the water Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for them. All right, and as well as we say, as well as I'm going to say, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai Brakatham to the 144,000 that do teach this ministry, and as well as to those that do follow, whom is the 1/3. And this is your brother Laban coming at you with some news from the businessinsider.com. And this reads, Russia's NATO neighbors are building hundreds of bunkers and anti-tank ditches in case of an invasion. Estonia, Lithuania, and Latvia are busy building massive defense installations along their collective 1,000 miles of border with Russia and Belarus. The Baltic defense line, comprising hundreds of bunkers and other defense measures, was a key part of an agreement struck between the three countries last month, prompted by the war in nearby Ukraine. For its part, Estonia plans to build 600 bunkers at a cost of $65 million. Along the 183-mile border it shares with Russia. The country's state broadcaster ERR reported. The defense will consist of bunkers, support points, and distribution line in peacetime, Hanno Pevkur, Estonia defense minister, said. But in the event of hostilities, local reserves will be ready to deploy mines, anti-tanks, ditches, barbed wire, and dragon's teeth, concrete pyramids designed to stymie tanks. The Times of London reported this week. A Baltic defense line is a huge project. Lucas Milevsky, a research fellow at the Foreign Policy Research Institute. So I'm going to stop right there. And before I go further, what I want to do is I want to play a video of the interview that Vladimir Putin had with Tucker Carlson.
At least that's what they're talking about. And they're trying to intimidate their own population with an imaginary Russian threat. This is an obvious fact. And thinking people, not Philistines, but thinking people, analysts, those who are engaged in real politics, just smart people, understand perfectly well that this is a fake. They're trying to fuel the Russian threat.
The threat I think you're referring to is a Russian invasion of Poland, Latvia, expansionist behavior. Can you imagine a scenario where you sent Russian troops to Poland?
Only in one case, if Poland attacks Russia. Why? Because we have no interest in Poland, Latvia, or anywhere else. Why would we do that? We simply don't have any interest.
So why is it that they're building bunkers near and dear to the border of Russia? Because it's to provoke Russia, and it's to draw near and dear to Russia. So when the time presents itself, they can go to war with Russia and get at Russia more effectively. Okay? That's all there is to it. So now what we're going to do is we're going to read the book of Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, and it will not tarry. So all throughout the various decades of building up to this third woe, which is what the focus is on, we tarried for a while, but now we're in the decade of the 2020s, and things are moving very quick in regards towards this war. All right. And this war is going to be the war which will totally destroy this entire global system until there's nothing of this system anymore. Remember, as the scripture says, that the Lord will neither leave a root or a branch onto it, which is to say that the Lord is going to destroy this society from the root all the way up. So let me pull that out real quick so that you can see what I'm talking about. Let's get that. Malachi 4. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all of the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root nor branch. So there you go. So this society is going to be totally destroyed. 100% of it, from left to right of it, is going to be up in smokes. All right. And then the real kingdom of the saints will be established here on this earth. Okay. So that's the focus that we're focusing on. We don't care about Russia or America. We don't really care. We're not into this stuff right here. We're just reading into this stuff because it's to do with Bible prophecy playing out, which will involve the destruction of the system. And in that, the Lord will then make a second return to establish the kingdom of heaven. So again, I say that is our focus. And that's why we go into things like this. Stories in regards to the building up of this war. All right. So yeah, as I've played the video to you, just to remind you that there's no interest for Russia to invade these places. So again, what's the reason for all of this? Is so that they can provoke the bear and come near and dear to the border of Russia, so that they can get at them more effectively if needs be, at the right particular point in time, which will cause the third woe, which is coming quickly. The second woe was past, and behold, the third woe cometh quickly. So before I go further into this, what I want to get into is the history. And what I want to do is, first and foremost, I want to say this: the water for the two heads for going into this information in regards to the Truman Doctrine, as they say, that caused the Cold War. And you had a lot of mini wars within the Cold War, right? But anyway, what you had this notion that the Americans had to get behind the Truman Doctrine, and this doctrine was influenced even onto the west of Europe. And there was a war that was had that they had to get into to mitigate the power of the Soviet Union, which was growing and expanding at the time, even onto the Western Europe. All right. So America was afraid of this. So they had to come up with a reason to get people to fight this war. Now, back in the 1940s, of course, you only had your television, which was showing you everything in gray. Okay. And in that as well, you only had one narrative that was being posed to you by, several or multiple different stations at the same time in your country. So the people were only dependent on one sort of information given to them from their government. So again, they were scared to death by the lie of, communism is spreading, when in fact the Soviet Union was just only going to expand all around, even onto Europe, and just that. But see, America had an issue with that because America always wanted to expand anyway. All right, so they feared the expansion of Europe, and this is why 2 years later, what you had was in the middle of the Truman thing, which the Truman Doctrine really paved the way for America to really get into other places outside of places in regards to the West. And that explains why they were able to gather the European countries together to formulate, which is called the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, 2 years afterwards. Okay. And, a lot was going on in that year, man. You had two major figureheads that were responsible in building the weapon of mass destruction, which was known as the atomic bomb, which was made of the knowledge of Albert Einstein, was actually used in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan, of that year, as they have it over here. Okay. And then later on, you had J. Robert Oppenheimer that came on the scene as well. I think they both came on the scene around the same time. But anyway, he was a part of a project called the Manhattan Project. And it was him that came up with the nuclear bomb. So this was between the time of the end of the Second World War to the middle of the Cold War. And the Cold War has been going on for like 40 plus years onwards until the time of the early 1990s, which ended in the year that I was born, to be exact. I'm giving my age up now, right? And so what was needed to be had at the time, there was supposed to be some kind of cooperation, and this is what Vladimir Putin was bringing out at the Tucker Carlson interview as well. He said that basically we also agreed on our behalf to do away with the Soviet Union buildup, and so that we can cooperate together as a global union ship. That's just, me putting it that way. Basically, that was really what was expected. But you see, 3 years later, around the year 1994, what did you have? You had the buildup of NATO, 31 nations surrounding Europe. What it did is it expanded NATO so that NATO can pretty much be near and dear to the border of Russia. That was the real reason for the buildup, is so that they can get closer and closer to Russia. And this is why, as we go back over here, as you can see, they're building, or they're stationing bunkers near the Baltic area. All right. Now they're going to lie through their media outlets and say, oh yeah, well, we're doing this so that for invasion purposes. But as the man already said in the interview, there's no reason to invade the Baltic states at all. All right. So anyway, as I was saying about the two individuals that came up with the nuclear destruction, and now all of these other nations possess these weapons of mass destruction. As you've also heard too, politicians have said a while back, saying that the reason why we have the building up of these nukes is for the purpose of peace. But common sense tells us, and as well as prophecy tells us otherwise. Let's read this. Isaiah 13 and verse 9. Behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel. Let's begin by reading verse 5. Salakia. There it is right there. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, and even unto the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. And that's why these missiles are able to go from one end to the other end, because the Heavenly Father have given them the knowledge so that this prophecy can be had, so that the weapons of mass destruction can be intercontinental, go from one continent to another continent. They come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even unto the Lord, even the Lord, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. How ye, for the day of the Lord is at hand, and it shall come as a destruction from the Almighty, which is the Hebrew word Alashadya, which means terrible demon-like power. And therefore shall all hands be faint, and every man's heart shall melt, and they shall be afraid. Pangs and sorrows shall take hold of them, and they shall be in pain as a woman that travaileth, and they shall be amazed one at another, and their faces shall be as flames. And behold, the day of the Lord cometh cruel, both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. So the Lord is going to use this sort of destruction, as the saying goes, killing two birds with one stone here, to get rid of these world powers, get them out of the way, and as well as to get these sinners to receive their judgment for the wrongs that they have committed, which has been seen in the eyes of the Lord, which are indeed the angels. Okay, that is the reason for all of this. All right. And also, just to add to, for the controversy of Zion, for the wrongs that these other nations have done unto us as a people. You so-called blacks, Latinos, and Native American Indians are the Lord's people. And these nations had a hand in our affliction, and the Lord is going to judge them according to that. As it is written, the Lord will plead our cause. Jeremiah 50 and verse 40. And as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Lord Yahweh, so shall no man abide there, and neither shall any son of man dwell in it. So again, when we look at how Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, it was destroyed by those brimstones. And as I like to say, what's going to be interchangeable to that? The nuclear missiles, the weapons of the Lord's indignation. The word indignation means justifiable anger. All right. And the Lord is going to be justified in his judgment on the whole land, which is America. Okay. To lay the land desolate. Verse 40 again. And as the Most High overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah and the neighboring cities thereof, saith the Lord, so shall no man abide there, and neither shall any son of man dwell therein. Because the prophecy is that America will be no more. And that is the real reason why the nuclear weapons or the atomic bomb has been invented, for the purpose of the Lord, which will stand, which will bring an end to this entire system that the Lord have already set up. As what was said in the book of Job, the 1st chapter, the Lord giveth and he taketh away. And guess what? The Lord is going to take away the power from these Edomites on both sides by allowing them to destroy themselves, and also these other nations too, including. Okay. So yes, the Russians wanted peace at the end of the Cold War. But guess what? It's all through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai that is not the case, because ultimately there is no peace, save the Lord unto the wicked. So with that, I want to give all of the praises and the glory to the Most High and his Son, Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakah, Hakwadash, and I'm the water Yahweh Bashmiel Shai for all things. Shalom.